The views presented in this program are not meant to express the specific views of the Lafayette Bible Fellowship. You are listening to the Vigilance Radio Network.
Hey, there we go. Welcome back. Welcome back to the actual episode now.
Right.
Episode number 19 of Culture and Sanity Podcast. Me and Josh did a little trial run of an AMA, Ask Me Anything.
It was really boring.
Thinking about something we might do for an upcoming episode with more notice, but more fleshed out. But anyways, welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 19. Josh and I just watched a trailer right before the podcast started for a movie called Suspiria, which is a remake. And it was really dark and freaky looking, I guess. I don't know. All right, so we got a few things on the docket tonight. Up front, none of which are of spoiler-ness, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, we're not talking about any TVs or movies, so there's that. So what we have tonight is the Me Too movement, if you've been tracking the news, has reared its ugly head with one of the pioneers of it, I guess. Yeah, Asia Argento.
Yeah.
So there's a little something on that. We're going to be talking about holograms, and we're going to be talking about Louis C.K. and pop stars. Just to give you a real rough whatever. So just a few things on the docket tonight. First up. So like I said, if you've been tracking the news, you would have seen Asia Argento pop up in the news. So if you're not familiar, Asia Argento is the actress, one of the actresses that first came out against Harvey Weinstein. Asia Argento was like Anthony Bourdain's wife or girlfriend or something before he died. But yeah, she was one of the trailblazers for the whole Me Too movement and specifically with Harvey Weinstein. And so it's about a year on from that, if you can believe that. It's been going on for a year with all these different people getting busted. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, a year. But anyway, so she was in the news for unfortunate circumstances. So some young man that she had formerly worked with a couple times in her career, as far as I understand it, had come out and has accused her of, well, basically the same exact thing that she's, lobbying against. This kid was this underage actor, allegedly. This is all alleged, right? We're not gossip pushers, but she allegedly had an inappropriate relationship with him and did inappropriate things with him. And he is coming out now because, I don't know, he feels like he can now versus before. Allegedly, this isn't alleged. This is like confirmed. Her and her husband had previously paid off the kid in some sort of non-disclosure thing.
Wait, is that Anthony Bourdain?
Yeah. Yeah, there was an agreement between them to put whatever, this kid is clearly troubled. Let's pay him what he's asking for to protect our, reputation. You didn't do anything wrong, blah, 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 blah. And so he's like, no, that's not true. Yes, they did pay me, but she had an inappropriate relationship with me, so I'm coming out now. So anyways, if you've been following our podcast, we've been talking about the Aurora Boris. So the snake that Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail, right? And how this is another one of those circumstances. So here you have one of the trailblazers of the whole Me Too movement being accused of exactly like we've been talking about, what she's wanting to, the standard she's wanting to perpetuate,
Proffer.
Yeah, proffer. And this whole climate and culture of guilty until proven innocent has, just like we talked about last episode, has come back and bit her on the butt. And so just whether it's true or not, like, she is now a victim of what she wanted to put into place, and the dangers, the dual-edged nature of what the world is living in, and what culture is demanding and stuff. So she's on the receiving end of it now, and I mean, who knows how this will play out for her and how she'll come out the other side from it. But it's interesting to say the least how she's now on the other end of it. But the question for discussion purposes and the podcast tonight is just what level of... So the article that we were pulling from is just talking about how the whole Me Too movement has been a hypocritical political agenda. And like there's all these people on the left, on the Democratic Party side of things now, like coming out and wanting to abandon the Me Too movement now because of any number of reasons. It's not convenient anymore. It no longer serves the purpose that it needs to for their political gain or whatever. And I mean, there's specific people that have come out and talked about it. Like, it's like the mayor of this place in this state, and running person in this state, and head of this person in this Democratic Party, something or other. Like, I have names, but whatever. We don't have to talk the names. But so the question for our purposes though is what level of hypocrisy is acceptable in telling the truth. So let me just regurgitate that then through what's going on. So Asa Argento came out right against Harvey Weinstein and shared her story,
right.
And then sort of paved the way for a bunch of other women apparently to share similar things with the same guy, but now it's coming around to her because of her past indiscretions. And so I think what the question that we're asking is, just because she has those past indiscretions, does that make her movement, her Me Too movement, any less valid?
Right.
Would you say that's what the question really is?
Yeah.
So I mean, what are your thoughts?
No, I don't think it makes it less valid. It definitely makes it less compelling. Makes it less believable. The terminology that we like to use around here is that it muddies the water.
Very much so.
So yeah, it makes it less compelling. But I don't think it makes it less valid. I can understand why it would make it less valid in a worldview where truth is arbitrary, though.
Yeah, I'm just reminded of what we were talking about in church. Was it last Sunday? We're just talking like the whole culture of guilty till proven innocent, right? And all it takes is one person to come out with one accusation, and boom, it blows up.
Right.
It blows up, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Like, the people that are reading, like this generation of people, they see it, boom, in big bold letters, and it's true. Like, and that's all it takes. And there's no more standards for how to deal with things like this because we're not operating in a godly worldview. The world is not. So I'm just thinking about that. But yeah, I'm also thinking about so we talked about it a little bit. Like, don't do as I. What did I say?
Say or not as I do.
Do as I do. Do as I say, not as I do. Right. Yeah. And how that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the arbitrary nature of truth for somebody that doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe specifically like in a relational God that really cares about what's going on in reality. I mean, when that's your foundation, it's like, why do you care about the morality of a lie at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you care if somebody's being hypocritical at that point? So, or at least maybe not why do you care, but how do you justify that they shouldn't be lying at that point, or shouldn't be being hypocritical. You know, if one can assert their dominance over the other, then it is what it is. And I think that's the Ouroboros effect here, is where it's a sad thing that these things happened to her, but the bandwagon that she either created or got on board with is one that was just so quick to turn on her, just so amazingly quick, just throw her to the dogs. You know, it's sad, but like that's the reality of it.
Yeah. Like what? Yeah. And when there's no, like you were saying, there's no, like, there's nothing to fall back on, like, as far as how we're treating each other and like standards and stuff like that. And so it's all just up to the individual, and it's really jacked up. But yeah, it really makes it difficult to even, I'm not going to say give it any credence, but yeah, specifically like the people that are like outspoken about it, you know, like really want to like take it for its like feminist cause or whatever. And I don't know, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. And I don't know, did you hear the latest? I was just looking at the headline. Asia Argento denies sexual assault tale and blames the payoff on Anthony Bourdain.
Wow.
2 days. Took her 2 days
to throw. So, and Anthony Bourdain was either, I can't remember, her boyfriend or husband. They were together for a long time.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really jacked up.
But that tells you right there, like that is that it's not that she's the victim of the Ouroboros. She is as much the head as she is the tail.
Oh.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
She's just, I'll throw that.
And
I'll
that's
throw that other. She's as much the head as she is the tail.
Nice.
You know, like she's not just the victim, she's a perpetrator. And so that's the thing. Like, look, I'm not saying that it's good at all in any way, shape, or form,
right,
moral at all in any way, shape, or form, what was done to her. And for the record, I believe it. I mean, I believe
all signs point to the fact that
Harvey Weinstein did the things that he did. Yeah. But that said, all signs are seeming to point to the fact that she is equally as nasty, and you can see the effect of that. She's, you know, this man that was her love she's throwing him under the bus.
I mean, not to continue to like blend topics in my mind and based on what we've been going over here at the church, but like, is she worse than Anthony Bourdain in a way, you know? And I don't want to, like, we can't get into the degree of sin,
Anthony
right?
Bourdain or Harvey Weinstein?
Sorry, Harvey Weinstein. Like,
I don't know.
She did similar things, but like she played a part, like, you know, like all victim. I'm completely blameless and in any, like, you know, like I've never, whatever. And then this stuff comes out, and it's like,
I don't know, man.
It just looks bad. It looks worse.
Yeah, I don't know, but I can tell you, it seems ripped from the headlines Law and Order status. Like it absolutely, yeah, like totally. That's how a Law and Order episode would go down. It would go down that first. It would be
watch this next season or this season.
Right? No, totally right.
They're up on it.
It would be, and they really are. It would be the first. It would be the beginning of the episode. It would be like a Harvey Weinstein thing, and then halfway through the episode, the person you'll feel bad for the victims, and then you find out that the victims are victimizing, and it's like this whole thing, and then they'll make some sort of anti-God, pro-socialism conversation that Benson will have with the other detectives, and it'll be this whole thing, and the episode will end on the darkest note possible with the screen fading to black saying Dick Wolf, producer, and that's it.
Law and Order ends like that?
Yeah, it fades to black, and then the screen just has.
But they end on notes like that, where like.
Oh yeah, all the time. Why do we not have a Law and Order clip?
That's. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah. Wait. So seriously, Law and Order, like, did those stories and those episodes like have part twos, or is it some episodes just end sucky like that?
Sometimes.
I guess that's reality.
Sometimes Susan Wonderly would like to say that she thinks that the movement was a great thing, although it was brought about with hypocrisy. It has been much needed for a long time. I don't approve of her just because she started out a victim. There are many people that need to be heard. This includes men that have been victims also. There must not be secrets about being a victim of abuse. She will need to be accountable to others and then get in touch with God in this matter. Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. And I think that's what I was saying earlier. Like, no, it doesn't disqualify.
Discount what she went through.
Right, but it does mar it. Mm-hmm. It certainly makes it less compelling, and that's sort of the nature of the beast. So I would, if I was her or if I was a victim, I would definitely not ride that coattail in order to get my story heard. But
so how would you go about it then? Like, that's tough. She made mistakes, obviously.
I wouldn't attach myself to the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
I would make I wouldn't make myself into an advocate of any one movement. I'd make it into, my personal experience with this. That's not to say I wouldn't necessarily join a class action, case or whatever. Wouldn't get involved, but
she put herself in a limelight to be seen.
Yeah.
And she's very much been seen.
She made herself the voice of something.
Yeah, I wonder, I wonder what that kid must have thought, and this is just speculation, he sees this whole thing playing out, the whole movement, and, this chick that he had this relationship with, and I wonder if he was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, that's what happened with Anthony Rapp.
The Star Trek guy?
Yeah, with Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey made some sort of supportive comment, and then he was like, seriously?
Me. Yeah. Don't you forget the time in this. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Discovery is coming back, and it looks great.
Which, by the way, Kevin Spacey has not bounced back.
Not yet, but...
Speaking of people that bounce back...
Roman Polanski?
No, we're going to talk about Louis C.K.
Oh,
we're going to segue. Because it's all part of the same, it's all part of the same movement, too, right?
Right.
All the same sort of conversation. So, anyways, next up, so Louis C.K., the famous comedian who's balding and has red hair.
You're not talking about Jim Gaffigan?
No, he has blonde hair.
Yeah, I just...
yeah, but also blonde. Anyways, Louis C.K. really recently, had his, first night out since his whole ordeal with his, indiscretions and stuff. He had he was at a comedy club. He got invited to a comedy club, or some comedy club had him, would have him go work, basically. And this is the first time out for him since he was accused of all these things and, admitted to them and, took a step back or whatever. But with that came all sorts of backlash, as you can expect. So, we're probably, like I said, 8 months to a year, depending on... 9
months, apparently.
When Louis... 9 months?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there you go. So, depending on when Louis C.K., got found out, if you will. We're, 9 months on, and he goes and does this thing, and there's all this backlash with people on Twitter. Kathy Griffin, for example, said something like Louis C.K. went on a long vacation and it didn't do anything to show that he has reformed or changed. He's a multi-millionaire who finally got some sleep after working nonstop for years. This is how we are making people pay their penance in the Me Too era. Effing pathetic, she says. Someone else said, let me get this straight. Louis C.K. just... this is kind of funny. But bad joke. Louis C.K. just showed up at a club and performed to a room full of people without their consent? ? And then... there was someone, what's that comedian's name? I always remember him from those VH1, best of the 80s, Michael Ian Black. He's a comedian / actor. He came out in support of Louis C.K. and, was basically there. Wow,
Susan.
Surely there's a time where he can put this behind him. He's admitted to his faults and whatnot. But then Amber Tamblyn.
Yeah, Amber Tamblyn.
She retweeted that, and she said something.
She's a huge Me Too movement person.
Amber Tamblyn?
Yeah, who's she married to?
I don't know. She said, I think we should be asking women, most especially the women in comedy, how they feel about this instead of explaining what should or shouldn't be allowed. This was in response to Michael Ian Black in defense of Louis C.K. Deferral to women in a moment like this is what allyship should look like, Michael. So the question for our podcast is: Is there a time limit? Is there a time or behavior limit on forgiveness and reintegration into society?
David Cross.
No way.
Amber Tamlin's married to David Cross.
Weird.
That seems really strange, but anyway.
Weird.
So just before you can read that question again. So Susan, the rules of the thread require that if you're going to use the S word, that you put an exclamation point where the I goes. So it reads SH exclamation point T.
Or an asterisk or a dollar sign. Or,
Anyway, she made her feelings known about Kathy Griffin.
Oh, yeah, she doesn't like Kathy Griffin.
I'm not a big fan of her. She's just a couple marks below Sarah Silverman.
Below Sarah Silverman?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not a very nice person. And whatever, she had her own whatever in the news recently.
Right. Well, that's a whole,
it's a whole other
hypocritical sort of...
Yeah. But anyway, so again, the question, is there a time or behavior limit on forgiveness?
So the article that I posted...
And reintegration into society.
The article that I posted from The Guardian says that time limit is apparently 9 months.
And why?
Because, let's see, Louis C.K.'s comeback shows that 9 months is long enough, apparently, is what it said. And then it's just saying, let's see... people deserve second chances, of course, but the more important question to ask is why some people get second, third, and fourth chances, while others are never even afforded a first chance. We should be asking ourselves how CK's abuse of power robbed his victims of professional opportunities. We should be reminding ourselves that CK is not the victim in this situation.
No one's acting like he is the victim.
Right.
I'm confused. Like, is that the impression that people have? Is that now all of a sudden Louis C.K. is the victim because he went and performed? And because he's taken some backlash, like that's all part of the consequences that are coming to him and will continue to come to him and will haunt him forever because of the choices he made. Like, but no, I mean that's certainly not where I'm coming from or my first impression of it, that he's somehow a victim because of this. But man, like
I don't think that's what's being said. I think it's just. It's talking about the victim's thoughts on it. Betsy DeVos has reportedly decided that when it comes to sexual misconduct in college campuses, the real victims are those who are being accused.
Yeah, maybe there should be some sort of Hollywood Measure 11.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like, well, I mean, is that what's being asked?
Yeah, it's called Measure 11.
Yeah. But he was never. I don't think he faced any formal charges.
Right.
Like I just read this recently too. At this point, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, people that watch this or will watch this in the future, and I'll take it humbly. But I think up to this point, Harvey Weinstein has been the only one criminally charged. Bill Cosby
was criminally charged.
Okay, but that to me that started before this whole thing.
Yeah, you're right. It did.
But I'm just talking about since Harvey Weinstein and since everyone that came out after that. So it doesn't apply to him.
It's an opinion. This is an opinion piece, but yeah.
Yeah, that article you're reading. But yeah, but it's all subjective too.
Right.
Right?
It's arbitrary.
Yeah. Yep. Why 9 months? I mean, that's the opinion of that writer
that's
you're
what they're
saying. But so what is it then? Like these people, so we should leave it up to women, like in general women, because Louis C.K.'s crimes were against women, and so now women all have ultimate authority in anything he does, in any sort of whatever. Like, is that what's being suggested, or like time things? Like, what?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that there is. I don't know that there is a suggestion, and I think that's where I have the difficulty in it. I was reading an article. It wasn't Louis C.K. It was Matt Lauer and somebody else, and they were
about him.
I'll look it up, but basically, it's like they want viewers. They want their viewership to know that they're going to return to TV like sometime soon. Well, let me see if I can find it.
They have some sort of
Matt Lauer and Charlie Rose,
sexual assault publicist for these people.
Let's see. Yeah, right. Let's see what Louis C.K. and Matt Lauer's attempted comebacks say about us. Blah, blah, blah. Made public. Yeah, anyway. I mean, the difficulty is that there needs to be there needs, we should.
There's no forgiveness, let alone like we're talking about social reintegration, right? Like,
right.
Like, when does the topic of forgiveness enter into the public domain? Like, does it exist even?
Right.
Like, does it even exist, or is it just this guy's always going to be a piece of crap because of the things he did, right? But
right, penance. There needs to be. What was it? You read a comment.
Yeah, it's Kathy Griffin said, "Is this how we're making people pay their penance in the Me Too era by allowing them to do this?" And she says, "Effing pathetic."
Right.
So we hold that in our hands.
Like, that's the question, right? The standard is completely arbitrary.
Yeah.
And that's an unlivable standard, too. Like, that's the thing. You really don't want it to be the public standard that the public gets to choose what your quote-unquote penance is going to be, because there's no possible way that you could ever live up to that. Man, we need Christ more than ever. Like,
I know.
Just the concept that is there in Christianity and that Christian teaching, that it's by grace that we're saved and not by works. These people are terrible people, but there's no possible way that we could ever measure. If somebody was like, they live in a glass house. If somebody was to do that with us and watch us 24/7, the same thing would be happening.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's just like these people that are coming out and talking like, so I'm guessing Amber Tamblyn, Kathy Griffin, whoever the other random person is, I'm guessing they are spotless lives, right? They have spotless lives because they're sitting on Twitter, demanding penance be paid for him,
Right.
Like, that's frustrating.
Yeah, you're just cruising for the head to eat the tail. That's all I'm saying.
You're cruising for it. You're playing Snake on your Nokia phone, and you're
right.
You're well along.
Right. That blows my mind, by the way, that Amber Tamblyn is married to David Cross.
Yep. I was trying to remember his name from Arrested Development. Is Futke is the last name. But
right.
Tobias Futke?
Yeah, maybe Tobias, yeah.
He's really silly in that show. Anyways, so Susan's frustrated with the whole thing?
She just said trauma.
Trauma? Drama, too.
Yeah, also.
Trauma and drama.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I missed a comment. Let's see. He should come out and make a humble apology, but I don't think personal opinion that he is humble enough to do that.
He did when it first came against him, he admitted to it. He expressed himself in an articulate enough way that acknowledged his wrongdoings. Now, whether or not he approached the individual women he did wrong to, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows other than him and those people around him and those women. But as far as the public is concerned,
yeah, I remember that
he addressed it. He addressed it as wrong. He addressed it as he completely regrets it. He's hurt himself, his family, the women. He's all these different things. As far as the public goes, what else are you looking for, right? Do you want him to, on a weekly basis, say, "Hi, I'm Louis C.K. and I did these things. I'm going to do this stand-up now. I hope you're okay with that. I hope you'll stick around."
Right.
"Hi, I'm Louis C.K. I'm going to be at this comedy club in New York. I did these things. I hope you'll come."
Right.
What is being asked? At what point can the guy move on? And I can't, I don't support those things he did. I think it's really freaking creepy and gross.
Right.
Specifically what he was doing. I'm laughing, but it's really
laughing out of uncomfortability.
It's really effing weird, and you have to be really something kind of wrong with you, obviously. But as far as the public goes, dang, man, what else do you want? What else do you want? Do you want him to take his lashes in public physically and then you'll feel good? I
think the answer is yes.
It's just, that's not a world I want to be in.
That's the world we're in,
I want to be in a forest.
The answer is yes, and I think that's where we're at, and that's again why we need Christ. That's the long and short of it.
Yeah. All right.
I was gonna say something that comes out on the 4th of September, so just in a couple days, that we should talk about is The Purge.
The TV show?
Yeah, there's a 10-hour...
It's really that...
Speaking specifically about, like, people needing to take out their aggressions.
Natural selections.
Yeah.
Yeah. That franchise has really done well for itself.
It is blowing up. I didn't see the last one, but...
I've only seen the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I heard it's...
You have to watch the
is.
second two. And then I haven't seen the last one. But, yeah. Anyway, maybe we will discuss The Purge later.
Yeah.
The morality of The Purge.
The morality of The Purge. So, with that, we're going to, take a quick little break for a few minutes. We don't have a game this time around, so we're going to switch it up, and we're going to talk about what's on our minds, which is in 1 week, and that is Rose City Comic Con. Because this is a pop culture podcast, dang it. Yeah, Rose City Comic Con music, I guess. So yeah, I know that we're both excited about it. This is something, kill the music.
It's coming to a natural...
I'm being defeated by the music.
There you go,
here.
I'm sorry.
So this is something
from Candy Crush or something.
This is something we're, always excited about, and then we've been doing for a few years now, consistently.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. Like, what are you excited about? What are you hoping to get out of Rose City Comic Con this year? I know that between the guests that are going, you probably have a vested interest in it, maybe more than normal. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing with going to Comic Cons.
Mm-hmm.
Children.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difficulty.
That's the new thing with going to Comic Cons for sure. I mean, Sophia was always okay.
Right.
But now we have littler kids.
Right. So for me, okay, so I'm a huge comic book fan. Adam, though new, is also a huge comic book fan. And so the thing is that you got to know for Comic-Con, it's not really comic books. It's more like a genre. It's like a genre of sci-fi fantasy, which includes movies, television, video games, comic books, all of it.
That's what it's become. It started at, like, Comic-Con Prime started out.
Sure.
As you would...
Right. Which, did you hear that they're suing for the rights to the term Comic-Con? San Diego is.
San Diego for real?
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. So, like, people are doing all sorts of things.
As if they need to do that.
It had to do... I can't remember why. Maybe that's something...
For anybody that's, like, going to Comic-Con, like, as if they need... Like, that there's a... The people that are interested in Comic-Con, whether it be San Diego or whatever, they know... They know the difference. Come on. That's a cheap move. Anyways, whatever. So anyways, the thing about you, it's not about comic books, it's about cosplay, it's about movies and television and gaming, it's about toys now, it's about all of it rather than just comic books. So you were saying, and kids.
Right, so kids, yeah, that's the hard part, right? Because as a fan of those things, as in the general fandom, right, it's like you want to go around, you want to see your booths. And when we're talking like... I don't know how many square feet it is, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's
this giant warehouse, and it's at the convention center. So it's a giant warehouse that's filled with vendors of all varying kinds, split up into different sorts of locations, and then completely separate from that are the panel rooms where you can hear people talk. So it's awesome.
So actors and creators of shows and movies and things
right,
like that.
And it's sweet. Like a couple years ago, I got to go see. I really like The Flash, right? the TV show The Flash. And there was Caitlin and Cisco from The Flash, and they were on... that's not their actual names, but...
The characters.
The people who play those characters were there in the panel, and so they were giving behind-the-scenes information. And that's the sort of thing. So this year, there's some really cool panels. Like, there's the Doctor Who panel that's going to have... not Matt Smith, David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, that's my favorite Doctor. And that's kind of a big deal. Like, everybody here at ABF, because we're all comic book fans and sci-fi fans, loves the 10th Doctor. So he's going to have a panel, and that's awesome. And I'm super stoked about the Cobra Kai panel, because Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka and the guy, the big bad from the first movie, not the kid,
the teacher of the
the
dojo?
teacher, yeah,
from
Rove, something Rove. Anyway, yeah. Those three are going to be there, and they're going to talk about Cobra Kai. And what's awesome is afterwards, after their panel, because it's the last panel of the day, you get to watch the movie with them, like while they're doing like live commentary. So it's cool. I'm not going to stick around to watch the movie, but I'm stoked about that. The problem is
that all this is leading up to the butt.
All this is leading up to kids, because I can't go peruse thousands of back issues.
And that's
of comic
what's
books.
Fun about it too, right? Like doing this for people that can see me on the camera.
Right, and you're like,
yeah, with the comic
book. You guys can't see us.
You have your Google Keep list of things,
right,
issues you need to fill out your series, and there's other people next to you do it, and it's kind of competitive in a silent way.
Right,
like, don't take your eyes off the books that you pulled out because someone might snatch them. And you always make sure to like hover over them. And there's all this body language that's involved.
And you can't do that when you have a kid at your feet.
You're trying to,
Dad, watch me do this. Dad, I'm hungry. Dad, take me to the bathroom. Dad, I have to poop. Dad.
Yeah, squirrel. And then they run off.
Right.
So it's with great excitement and great trepidation.
Right. So the way that we have dealt with Comic-Con is that we have a day for several amount of hours, like maybe 4 hours, that we set aside to bring our kids to the Comic-Con that doesn't conflict with panels, hopefully, and we just devote that to the kids, whatever they want to see. And it's great for the kids. It's like, not only do they have like a kid area, which is large and has cool things, lots of like hands-on things, but kids are super cheap. It's like $0 for 2 and under, and then like $5 for kids up to like 12 or something. Wow. It's pretty cheap. And then
that's cool.
And the kids get to see like all of their like favorite characters. Like people, I'm absolutely serious. There's like remote controlled droids. There's like, I remember the first Comic-Con we went to, Sophia got to meet like a life-size Chewbacca that had the
like 9 feet tall.
Yeah. And she was like freaked out by him, but it was a legit
Chewbacca's hairstylist that was following with hairspray to keep the hair down.
Right.
It was a proper costume.
Right. Yeah, it was a legit costume. It was legit.
Anyways, so the point is, we love Comic-Con, but it's with great trepidation. So if you're looking to join, and so we've learned that we have to build a team. We have to be strategic about it. Right. So it's like, yeah, we'd really want to bring our kids to this, and from this age to this age, they can probably only handle so much, so we're going to bring them on this day. So if you're looking to join our team, come get to know us for a few years, and you can be vetted, and if you can follow our child rearing process and agree to the same standards for things that we do, then you can be a part of our team.
Yes.
And then you can take some of the burden away from us.
That's right. Or if you just want to meet up at Comic-Con, and say hi to us, that'd be awesome too. And it's dog eat dog.
Yeah, it is, man. That's what I'm saying.
Like, if you want, like, for instance, if you want a place to eat, like, people are sitting on the ground, like, in the middle of the food court, and there's, like, garbage on the ground and stuff.
It's wild out there.
It's crazy. It's easy to lose your kids. So that's another thing. Like, I have a slap bracelet. Like, the last time I was in Disneyland, I found this kid that was, like, freaking out, and I was able to help him find an employee. But I remember, like, thinking about this, like, because, I've got my own kids. And so, like, this was prescient in my mind. Mm-hmm. And so, so for Sophia, I have a slap bracelet that I keep on my backpack, and on the back of it, I've written all the information, like how to get a hold of me. And whenever I go to events like that, I like slap her with the slap bracelet, because it's like, it would be really easy to get separated, like super easy. And don't even get me started on my son Joseph, who's like a wild animal. So like, I do not believe in the leash. I do not believe in using a leash.
Yeah.
But with Joseph, I understand why people would go that direction. I would still not do it, but I get why they would.
Yeah.
So anyway,
if you want an image of Josh's son Joseph, watch Mad Max 2: Road Warrior, and there's a character. He's a kid in there. He carries a boomerang around.
Yes.
He's a feral child.
Yes.
And that's Josh's son.
That's right.
Hair and everything, just way crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm excited about Comic-Con. I don't know if there's any like guests in particular. Like, actually, no, there is. Like, Carl Urban would be cool. Carl Urban's the guy that played like Bones and the newer Star Trek series, and he was in Lord of the Rings. He was Dredd in the newest Judge Dredd movie. So he was supposed to go last year, but I didn't. And then like people like Michael Biehn.
Yeah,
Michael
I saw
Biehn,
that. And somebody else from the Terminator
Michael
franchise.
Biehn and Val Kilmer are there.
Oh, that's weird.
Which is awesome because Tombstone.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yeah.
Michael Biehn is Johnny Ringo. Michael Biehn is Johnny Ringo.
But
Johnny Ringo.
I think Michael Bihn's doing the it's a Terminator thing, right? It's like Come With Me If You Want to Live, isn't that what it's called? Let's see.
Is that what his panel is called, you mean? Like what his...
Yeah, I'm going to find it here. You keep
It
talking.
would just be cool if Val Kilmer crashed his panel.
Come with...
He's like, I'll be your Huckleberry. And he's all pale and dead.
It's called... Yeah. It's called Come With Michael Biehn and Jennifer Blank Biehn If You Want to Live. You know him from Terminator, Aliens, and Tombstone. You know her from Party of Five, Dark Angel, and so much more. This husband and wife acting producing team are here to talk about their decades-long careers and what it takes to build a production company from the ground up. That sounds fun. I'm most interested in the Star Trek The Next Generation panel, especially with the announcement, and I'm sure this is going to be all out there, that Patrick Stewart is going to be reprising his role as Jean-Luc Picard. Mm-hmm. So, which is crazy. That's like 25 years later, he's playing a character from Star Trek. It's crazy.
Well, Leonard Nimoy did it, right? He did it in the movies.
Yeah, but that's different. He like made a cameo. This is a series.
Yeah,
It's a Captain Picard series, or not Captain, probably Admiral.
Yeah. Anyway, so we hope to see you guys at Comic-Con and drop our kids off with you. Just kidding. All right, let's get back to it.
Okay.
We could probably spend a long time talking about Comic-Con.
Yeah, we
on
could.
Facebook Live.
We could just keep. That's what we should have done during our pre-show.
It's okay. All right, what else we got? Okay, yeah, technology thing. So I'm sure you guys have seen and heard, but like the whole hologram thing with musicians and stuff. Like there was something with Michael Jackson. Like it's just becoming more and more popular, right? Like the whole hologram thing. And I think it was Roy Orbison. He's going to have some sort of hologram world tour going to like 20. It's either world tour or like nationwide tour, like going to 28 different cities, playing in front of a live studio. Of course, Ray Orbison has been dead for like 30 years or something. I don't know, decades.
28 date run.
That's what it was. A 28.
Yeah, 28 days.
But anyways, so people are uncomfortable with it
right.
Because like I don't know how to feel about going to a concert for someone who is dead. Like it's just a weird thing. And then people are concerned that like it could change the legacy of someone, good or bad, I suppose. Like this whole hologram, this whole where we are at with technology and people. And so yeah, it's a really interesting thing, and you can look it up. But the question that we're asking is, should a person's legacy be bound to their bodies? And the idea of personhood theory, which maybe you should talk on. So we've been reading this book. Josh has already read it, and a couple of us here at the church have been reading it too. But it's called "Love Thy Body."
Love Thy Body.
Love Thy Body by Nancy Piercy.
Percy?
I thought it was Percy, but anyways, whatever. Love Thy Body. And so the whole book is about personhood theory and in regards to all the hot button topics today.
Yeah.
Homosexuality, transgenders, et cetera, et cetera.
Abortion, euthanasia.
Yeah, all of it, all the good stuff. So should a person's legacy be bound to their bodies, and like what are valid concerns or excitements in regards to this whole topic with where we're at with technology and whatnot?
Right. So I think that it boils down to the concept of personhood theory. So Adam, asked me to debrief it or brief you on what it is. So basically, personhood theory is this: we are not whole beings in the sense. That's a bad way to start. Personhood theory is this. Okay, here we go on the spot.
Sorry.
A person is who they think they are rather than what they are. So therefore, like, we are not what we're made of. We are how we feel.
And you're saying that's how it's believed to be by...
That's what personhood theory is.
Okay.
That's what makes a person.
Okay. Gotcha.
So an outworking of this is that a child... That's an interesting question, Lucy. Lucy asks, is a hologram worse than cloning? Interesting. Hold that thought, Lucy. So the outworking of this would be, for example, in the field of abortion, in the topic of abortion, is the child a person? Well, by science, the argument used to be that that they weren't alive. But science has just proven that that's just not true. Mm-hmm. They are a human being, and they are alive. We know that to be true through genetics. We know that to be true through science. So now, because we want to keep aborting our children, now we have come down to saying that they're not actually people. Mm-hmm. That what makes a person is...
Now it's not in, like, the physical. It's like, it's just this idea of what a person is, and the subjective
arbitrary nature.
Yeah, identity. Mm-hmm.
Right. So so what makes a person then becomes, any number of things depending on who you are. But that's essentially what personhood theory is, that my person is disconnected from my body, which brings us back to this. This is a little more on the nose concept, but it brings us back to this. So the question is, should our legacies be connected to our bodies? Yeah. That's what I would say. I would say yes. Besides the parts of our legacy that we seek to remove from our bodies, so like...
What do you mean by that?
So like our words.
Our words that we seek to remove.
Like our words are our thoughts, and we want our thoughts to continue.
Yeah, right. Okay, gotcha. I was gonna say that was my next question. Is
right.
Like, how do you fit both of them into that?
Right. So I don't know if this applies to that question in particular.
This topic specifically.
Yeah,
like
I don't
the
know.
Whole topic of
right.
holograms and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know if it applies to.
What about what she's saying?
Yeah. Okay. So is a hologram worse than cloning? It depends. Is the hologram sentient?
No.
So if the hologram is just like an image of something, then what makes it different than a picture on your phone? And so from that standpoint, this is where I go back to, I don't know if this really applies to personhood theory completely here. Like, it may be being extra sensitive on the issue of personhood theory. From that standpoint, if Roy Orbison is performing his greatest hits, and that's taken from video and then reconstructed 3D to allow people to watch that, then is that new? Is that extending the legacy?
Yeah, how is that any different than just watching a movie?
Right. I don't know.
Technology has allowed it to be three-dimensional.
But what about Michael Jackson when they did, what is that song called? Michael Jackson hologram performance. There was a Michael Jackson.
I remember there being something.
Slave to the Rhythm. So Michael Jackson never performed this song live. He never did like any sort of whatever. It was something that they took from the studio and then turned into a song. It was like from a demo.
Now that's different, right?
And then they made a performance of it where he's performing and doing a whole thing, like not waving to the audience, but like interacting with the audience and interacting with dancers and so on and so forth. Is that a violation?
Yeah, that's like a weird manipulation of will.
Right. I'll
Like,
post a link to it. Because that's not quite cloning, but, or how about something like taking somebody's image, like Princess Leia?
Yeah, the article that I was reading talked about her and the actor that plays Grand Moff Tarkin.
Totally. Yeah. Well, William Shatner. Okay, so William Shatner. Let's see. I will find that also.
This is from the article, such hologram technology is just the latest example of using computers to exhume dead people, forcing them to dance like marionettes to suit our tastes. Until now, having until now, having assumed room temperature meant your story was over, meaning until now, being dead meant your story was over. Whatever reputation you earned while alive was cast in stone, and your carefully cultivated image remained yours. And then it goes on. Let's say, for the sake of argument, Fisher were revived for the upcoming films. Are we sure the character would say things like Carrie Fisher would allow her character to say? Do we know the filmmaker would make choices the real Fisher could accept to protect her public persona? A celebrity's image is often the property of that famous person's estate, but what if the person being recreated isn't necessarily famous and doesn't have a team of attorneys? Just because society can do something doesn't mean it should. If you're fortunate enough to be remembered well beyond your death, you should be remembered by the way you choose to live your life. Time of it, we should all leave them alone, is what this writer says.
Yeah, there's a company called Ziva.
But the Carrie Fisher thing is like, to me, is like the Michael Jackson thing, like, and it's like, so this last movie, even like Mark Hamill really wrestled with the character, right?
Right.
With Luke Skywalker's journey, really wrestled with it, like, and in the end, you know, he got on board or whatever. But like, doing this might like betray someone's personhood, like, you know, choices they might have made, or how they would have advocated for a different story being told or something like that. And it's just interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting new ground.
So what I was going to say was William Shatner, he said that he basically is not interested. I mean, he's like almost 90, he's 86. He said that he's not interested in becoming Captain Kirk again. However, he has had his whole body scanned by a company called Ziva, allowing him to be digitally de-aged and resurrected for future projects for his estate.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit narcissistic.
It's realistic.
It's freaky.
William Shatner, arguably one of the greatest actors of our time, for some strange reason.
Will be the greatest actor of your time, and your children's time, and their children's time, and their children's time.
Lucy Brown says, Roy Orbison wrote a bunch of songs that weren't released. I believe this is what they're going to release. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It is interesting. I think that once you start getting into this area, you start getting into an interesting area of not the soul, but of people's inability to understand their significance, basically. And I do think that it furthers the idea of personhood theory, which I don't agree with, for the record. You know, we don't agree with personhood theory around here.
Right, that's when you were presenting it, I was like, and just to be clear, like...
Right. Personhood theory to us, you know, this isn't what God revealed. God revealed that he made men and women in his image, and this includes the physical aspects of who they are. The physicality is what we call teleological in nature, in that it points to who God is. Mm-hmm. So our physical bodies are as much a part of us as our spirituality, and you need both of those. I don't know whether that makes it then not okay to have your image be used without your personhood, but then that drives the idea that your personhood isn't a part of your image, and it's this whole thing. And I think, you know, maybe that's one of the reasons why God's gonna sum all this up, because
I'm not calling it this, but so we're going over Romans 1 in Bible study, right? And it's talking about they, you know, suppression of truth, and they create new ways of sinning and blah blah blah. I'm not saying this is new ways of sinning, but it's like definitely like, what are we supposed to make of this? Like, what's the like moral rightness of this and that? And like, this is like weird uncharted territory, like holograms, and
like so many things
are. It's just like, well, like,
yeah, this is actually really weird uncharted territory, and never before in the history of man have we ever had to deal with such intricate
it really
things.
Is intricate. Yeah,
super intricate. Yeah, I can't remember who I was having a discussion with, but it was in the realm of pornography, and like, there's absolutely no doubt about pornography as being wrong before God. But then you start getting into the intricate details of what they're doing in pornography right now, specifically with, computer generated stuff.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, like apparent, like this is an actual thing in the porn industry, that porn stars are being put out of business by the images of porn stars.
Weird.
Like, they're computer generating either fake porn stars or so either like non-porn stars or existing porn stars, and then you can turn that around so much quicker than it's just a program.
Yeah.
Right?
That's freaking weird.
Right. So then it goes into the question, like, are you violating a person, for instance? Like, are you objectifying a person when that's not even a person that you're objectifying? But of course, what it goes down to, like, as believers, what it goes down to is the heart, right?
Yeah.
Right? You're imagining that that's a person, and therefore you are objectifying them regardless of whether...
Man, we're just, like, going down this spiral
right?
of, like...
Right?
What about this? What about this?
What about this?
What about this?
Yep.
What about this? What
Yep.
about this? What about this? It's all the way down.
Yep.
It's just, like, crazy.
Lucy Brown says, I want a robot maid. They have those. They're...
called a Roomba.
A Roomba. I'll send you a link on Amazon.
It'll
Here we
vacuum,
go.
Yeah, it'll vacuum your floor. It won't break things because it has sensors on it. Oh man!
Only $279.
So this is I'm gonna go off script here. And
that's fine.
We'll wrap this up with this, I guess, because we're coming to an end. But yeah, I was sharing this last night in Bible study. But so we're going over Romans 1, and it's talking about anger, greed, they do all these things to each other. They're full of hate, blah, 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 blah. And it's the footnote on that part of Romans 1 is talking about, like, Aristotle's, what are they called? Vices and virtues.
Yeah.
Like it was talking about the Hellenistic literature.
Yeah.
Vices and virtues. So hold that. Vices and virtues in Romans 1. All those bad things. I was listening to a podcast talking about, do you know the network Viceland Media? It's called Viceland, and there's all kinds of shows on Viceland.
Yeah.
It's like premium cable.
Yeah.
Viceland. This is really jacked up.
Is it like cop shows and stuff like that?
No, it's worse. It's the things, and you can look it up. I looked it up last night. Viceland. The shows on this network are like glorifying all those things you see in Romans 1. Like, there's shows about people that will sell every part of themselves to be famous. There's shows about people who, overindulge in the whatevers of life, like, drugs and alcohol and stuff, and like it's seen as good and necessary for this generation, and like there's shows about this and that, and it's just like, it's really interesting and overt, like, owning of it. And the reason why I was bringing it up is because we were talking about, obviously, Romans 1 talks about sexual sin, and the Greek for that is porneia, right?
Right, exactly.
And so pornography
Yep.
is like an overt disrespect, an overt owning of sexual sin. They call themselves porn. The Greek word porneia is sexual sin. And so I was like, oh, it reminds me, there's a whole and then, it goes on in all the vices and virtues that it talks about, and there's a whole network called Viceland, where you can go and watch, like, the downfall of humanity.
Yep.
Like, all the worst parts of humanity and how they do things and how they treat each other and what they'll do for this, and all these things. And I was just like, man, whew, that's really jacked up. But it's just the overt owning of it, like, yep, these are our vices. This is what we do. This is who we are. It's like we do this, that, and the other. Yeah. It's really interesting.
Well, that is a light, airy topic.
We could have talked about gay transgender pop stars. Come on. Like, there's what's a light, airy topic? We should have ended with Rose City coming on.
Right. We can bring up Roseanne again.
No, dude, I don't want to touch Roseanne for a long time. I mean, we can hit that topic. It's 9. We're on an hour. We usually wrap up in an hour. I'm not really interested. I'm not interested.
Yeah, we can just, basic opinion.
All right,
piece
so,
there.
yeah, okay. So, I read an article, and I posted it to our little thread here. And it's talking about how now's the time for gay and transgender and bisexual, LGBTQ pop stars, right? And there's a couple of them that are like on the rise right now, like this, whatever her name is, Kyoko or something.
Haley
Kyoko, and then what's the other? Troy Sivan or
I can
Sivan.
never pronounce that guy's name.
Yeah, I don't know. And these people are on like Billboard charts and stuff. Their music is becoming more and more popular. And this article is just like finally now's the time for this kind of music and these people with these kind of messages and stuff like that. Excuse me. It was saying there's a whole hashtag, even hashtag 20gayteen, as in 2018, but 20gayteen.
Super clever.
Super clever. Having grown up, Haley Kyoko said this, having grown up with few queer role models, save for Tegan and Sarah, she said that she feels a responsibility to her mostly young fans who are comfortable in their own skin. She feels responsibility to them, and she owns the nickname of Lesbian Jesus.
Nice.
Which is, yeah, exactly. Wow. That's, if Pastor Monty were sitting right there, he would say, wow. And then, yeah, her songs are, like lyrics are more and more becoming like more and more overt. Like her music videos like depict, for example, like her stealing a guy's girlfriend to like go be with her, and like having that, runaway relationship with this woman. And then his lyrics have some questionable, like overt gay sex themes in them, and how like he's like proud that we're living in a time where it's no longer has to be subtle, like it can just be like out there and accepted and yada yada yada. But anyways, the question for the podcast, and I'll let you go with where you want to, is it time to normalize the minority experience into popular culture? Is it time to normalize the minority experience? So yeah, something like the latest statistic, I think it was like in 2014, I looked it up just briefly, was like 3% of the population are like out as being gay, LGBTQ or whatever.
Right.
But is it time to normalize the minority experience?
Well, I think that's what you run the danger of doing. And that's really what it comes down to. You run the danger of normalizing the minority experience into the majority mind, and then you have
like it's a swinging of the pendulum.
Yeah,
like,
let's
now we all have to believe this because
right, and we see that in television, right? If only 3% of the population is that, and we're not even getting into what the Bible says about that and God's stance on it, but just look at it from a sociology standpoint. If only 3% of the population is that, then why does every show have to have a representation of that? Why does every movie? I mean, there's these groups that watch out to make sure that these views are represented, and not represented in a realistic sense as 3%, but represented as the majority view. And so I was just watching. What was I just watching? I was just watching Arrow, and on Arrow there's an out character, a cool character. His name is Mr. Terrific. That's really what his name is, and where in the past. So he's interested in this guy. Where in the past there would be a question of whether that guy was gay. There was no question. And I noted that. I took note of that. There was no question. He just asked him if he wanted to date him. And, and the answer was, of course, yes. And there you go. That doesn't represent a real experience. That's not a real experience in American life. That's not a real experience in the world life. We're talking 3% of the population that identifies that way. So really what we're looking at is a redefining of the way that we view things for the viewing populace. Teaching the viewing populace to see this as a normalized thing rather than something that is a minority experience. And I think
they're doing that kind of crap at the libraries too, you know. I'm sure you've heard about that. Like, they have whole readings, like, come to the library on Tuesday from 3 to 5, and we're going to have transgenders reading books. And so you can see...
Oh, there's a whole thing with drag queens. I know that.
That's what I meant, drag queens.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, same kind of thing, you know, like this indoctrination of it.
Yeah. So, and I want to take this out of the realm of just speaking about the LGBTQ community. You know, there's a larger percent of the population that deals with drugs and alcohol, like addiction, but you don't have to have every character have an addiction problem on a show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't need to be the pop experience when dealing with music, for instance. And so I think that's the danger you have here. And, you know, again, if you want to get into, oh, well, addiction, that's a negative thing or whatever. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is that you have a minority experience that's being presented as a norm. Not that you have a minority experience that's even being presented as the majority or as being presented as the right experience or anything like that. And we could get into that, but that's not what we're doing at the moment. I just have a problem with it being presented as norm, and I think that's what's going to happen. It's a normative experience in popular culture where you're going to have like special pronouns be used and so on and so forth in music. And it's already crept into television, movies. It makes sense that it's going into music. I personally am not a big fan of that, but I'm also not a big fan of a lot of popular music. So that's my thought on it.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, you can take it out of, and you should take it out of the realm of just this or just that. And like, there's all kinds of things, like you said, drug and alcohol, or like, what about people that suffer from asthma or something, you know, like,
right.
Where's the asthma guys on Arrow, you know, like, I struggle with asthma, but, you know,
right.
The next step in that would be, you know, the negative or whatever, like you said,
right,
that argument. But yeah, it's at this point in the show that I get exhausted.
Well, it's a little lighter of a topic than the last one that we were on, but
no, it's true, the Viceland. No, some of the stuff on that show, like, if you have a chance, like, I'm not gonna say watch it, but like, look at what it's about, and you're just like, man, that's what's on television for people to consume and like,
right,
entertain themselves with, like,
right.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, let me go back to saying, as you've heard me say many times now, that I do not allow anything to be entertainment until I've vetted it.
Yeah.
Keep your mind on, people. Stay vigilant.
Yeah. Okay.
As if you listen to a Troye Sivan song, I'll tell you, they'll put anything into your head that they can. That's true. I went there, and that's what's in his music.
If you're interested in today's topics or Troye Sivan songs, look them up on Google. No, if you're interested in today's topics or staying relevant, you can check us out on Facebook or Twitter at Culture Insanity. If you have something you're personally interested in, hashtag us, or not hashtag us, get to us at Culture Insanity on those platforms, Facebook or Twitter, sorry. If you're interested in exploring your faith or are just completely new to God, to Christ, to the Bible, and want to understand it better, you can check out the help tag on vigilance.blog or abfpdx.org. If you didn't get a chance to check it out in the last week, the last cross-examination discussion panel with local pastors was on the topic of sin. So if you're interested in sin and what was asked and what was covered, you can check that out at Culture Insanity at the Facebook page. Or not Culture Insanity, at Cross-Examination.
Although you can check it out at Culture Insanity, too.
That's true. We do a good job of cross-promoting.
Right.
So you're right. But Cross-Examination Facebook page has all the panel discussions in the last year, and we're reaching the end of Season 1, we're calling it.
Yep.
So the next one is September 30th. It's the last Saturday in September.
The penultimate episode.
Penultimate episode, and it will be, I believe, at Woodstock Bible Church.
Woodstock Bible.
Yeah.
Looks like a 3-denomination panel.
3-denomination panel, Woodstock Bible Church in Portland, Oregon. off of 52nd if you're local. It's at 7 p.m. The topic is going to be the problem of pain.
It's a good one.
Yeah, no, and it probably affects everybody, So, yeah, it's relevant to, I'm sure, everyone in some way. So if you have questions relating in any way to pain, how a loving God can this, loss and grieving and, all these different things, then you can reach out. You can ask those questions using the hashtag CrossX, letter X, and those questions will get to us, and we will cover them. You can join us live at the church at Woodstock Bible. You can watch the Facebook Live event that will stream live during it, or you can watch it after it airs. It'll be posted directly to Facebook, obviously. So, yeah, I would encourage everyone to do that. Submit your questions and tune in and join us. It's a great resource if you're just curious about any number of things regarding the specific topic for the month. So
you can also find it on, as a podcast also on iTunes and Google Play.
I didn't even know that.
Yep, you can. Just like you can find this show on iTunes or Google Play. So you subscribe to it, so you don't have to look at our ugly mugs. You can just listen to them.
Yeah, if you're like my brother and prefer to just listen instead of look or touch social media.
Yeah.
So. So thanks for tuning in now and in the future. And with that, we will see you guys in 2 weeks. See ya.
The views presented in this program are not meant to express the specific views of the Aletheia Bible Fellowship. You are listening to the Vigilance Radio Network.